Hey, yo, what's up to everybody out there? And welcome to another edition of the Roundtable Talk. And I am your host, C Money. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about what is going on in South Florida. As most of you South Floridians know, that a lot of the winn-dixies are being closed and they are converting to to Aldi's. I don't remember if I actually told you this in the story, but we did do an episode where there was a South Miami winn-dixie that was torn down and being converted to a mixed-use development. And now there are several posts on social media talking about a lot of the winn-dixies. As you know, about a year or two ago, all these acquired and bought winn-dixie. Winn-dixie is part of the South was part of Southeast Grocers, which also operates Fresco Ye Mas. And if you don't know what Fresco is, it is a company that is a Spanish version of Winn-Dixie, because you see it mostly in the Spanish areas and the high-end areas. It is like a Spanish version. That's why it's called Fresco Y Mas. And they are, and most of those, and the Fresco's locations used to be Winn-Dixie. And one day I spoke to one of the managers in one of the Fresco's, and I was at one of the Fresco's. I think it was in Hialeah, if I'm not mistaken. And they say that they ran by the same company that owns Winn-Dixie, but they're supposed to be cheaper than Winn-Dixie. And I've been in several Fresco's. I went to one earlier this year, and they have one um, they have several. They have one near the Coral Gables area, Coral Gables Coconut Grove area, and they have several of them in Hialeah. I think there's a few in Broward, but they're mostly down in the Miami area, and Aldi's, which is a separate company, acquired Winn-Dixie. I don't think they bought Fresco, because Fresco's I think is still under Southeast Grocers, but because remember Winn-Dixie was under a brand. They have Fresco's, they had Bilo, they had Harvey's, they had a lot of them, because I remember going into a Bilo, I think it was, in Georgia. When I visited Georgia back in 2019, a friend of mine who stayed up that way, we ended up going after, I believe it was a Bilo, and I think that was one of the stores they had in Georgia, and I believe there's also Harvey's, which was under the Winn-Dixie brand as well, because Winn-Dixie has several brand stores. And now a lot of it was said about a year or two ago that Aldi's had bought Winn-Dixie, and then it was said that Winn-Dixie bought back Aldi's, or Aldi's, first it said Aldi's got bought by Winn-Dixie, and it was saying that a lot of the areas that don't have Aldi stores will be converted in. A lot of the Winn-Dixies in the areas that don't have Aldi stores will be converted into Aldi's, and we didn't think that a lot of the Winn-Dixies in the urban areas would be converted to Aldi's. But yeah, and things like that. Now, my opinion with this, I don't know. There's a lot of people I've been seeing on social media. There's a lot of people that is happy for Aldi's. I'm not really happy for Aldi's being in these cities, because if you've ever been to the Aldi's, because I've been in the Aldi's, I've been in one in Broward, and I've been to one. I did a video about it at 55 Block, the newest shopping center in downtown Miami. Go back and take a look in hot spots in South Florida. And I've been in that Aldi's, and I've been in the other few Aldi's as well. Now, if you've ever been into an Aldi's, and if you compare Aldi's to Winn-Dixie, Aldi's is very much smaller. You realize, what does Winn-Dixie have? Winn-Dixie have a dollar section, because they now have a new dollar section. They have a deli, they have a bakery, and they have a seafood department. Aldi's has none of them. I've never been into Aldi's that have a bakery. I've never been into Aldi's that have a seafood department. I've never been into Aldi's that have a meat department. Because in Winn-Dixie, you can't get your meat cut up, by a professional, meat personnel, which in reality is called a butcher. And you can say, hey, can you cut this up, or stuff like that. You do have it. Remember, Winn-Dixie logo was the beef people, meaning that you can get quality beef from Winn-Dixie. They was like the meat stores of the supermarkets. You know, you went in there, you got your meats and stuff like that and things like that. So their slogan was to beat people. Now you go into Aldi's, and I've been into Aldi's. Aldi's got some good products, and I give it to you because Aldi's is like Save a Lot meets Family Dollar. Because when you go into Aldi's, it gives you that Save a Lot vibe. If you've ever been into a Save a Lot store, trust me, you will know. Save a Lot and Aldi's is just about the same. Majority of the Aldi's products are off-brand products. They're not name brand, you know. And then not only Aldi's also have, you can go in there and probably get a radio in Aldi's. You can go in there and get probably a bike in Aldi's. You know, they have stuff that you wouldn't see inside of a supermarket. I'm not saying that you can get a bike from Aldi's, but when Aldi's first opened up and I walked inside of Aldi's, I'm like, they sell this in the supermarket. They sell this in the supermarket, and you're like, I would have never expected. Because in regular supermarkets, there's certain things that you would get. Like in Family Dollar, there's certain things you can buy in Family Dollar that you can't buy in the supermarket. You know, there's certain things you can buy in a supermarket that you can't buy in the dollar store. You know, you can't get, well, nowadays you can. You can get ground beef in a dollar store, but it be that rolled up ground beef. It's not the fresh ground beef that's sitting in the package that's wrapped up. You know, you get that factory made ground beef, you know, and stuff like that. You can go in a supermarket and you can go get pork chops in the supermarket, but you can't get pork chops at Dollar General. Now, if you do get pork chops at Dollar General, I wouldn't recommend it. Just like shrimp, you know, they be having them bagged shrimp inside Family Dollar and Dollar Tree and stuff. I'm like, I'm not gonna get no shrimps out of Dollar Tree and stuff like that. I've seen several posts where people be buying seafood out of these, you know, dollar stores, and they be eating them and getting sick. You know, there's certain things that you can buy out of a supermarket that you can't buy in the dollar store, and there's certain things that you can buy out of a dollar store that you can't buy out of a supermarket. But when you go to Aldi's, you see stuff that you can buy in the dollar store inside of Aldi's that you would never see inside of a supermarket. And I'll be like, what? You be getting like floor mats and all of this stuff, and I'm like, floor mats inside of Aldi's? It's supposed to be a supermarket. They don't sell floor mats in winn-dixie and Publix. You know, and you know, floor mats are something you get out of a dollar store. They don't sell, you know, certain stuff. And I'm like, you know what? This is something. And then, not everything you get, because remember, certain winn-dixies have pharmacies. Now that they're being converted into Aldi's is not going to have a pharmacy, because you know certain winn-dixies and certain Publix have pharmacies, and you know that's their new thing. And because remember back in the day in the 90s and the 80s and stuff, a lot of these supermarkets didn't have pharmacies. They started adding pharmacies to supermarkets in the mid 2000s so people can be all in one. When Walmart started converting their stores into super Walmarts, and then they just started saying, because remember back in the 90s and the early 2000s, Walmart, which is Walmart, and then you had the super Walmart, which was our modern day Walmart with groceries and stuff like that. And they only had, you know, and you had to go to certain areas to get to get a super Walmart, because the local Walmarts only sold clothes and shoes and electronics. They was like a Kmart. And then they started saying, go to the super Walmart, which was the Walmart that had the groceries. And then in the mid 2000s, they say, you know what? We're not going to have two different Walmarts. We're going to start converting all the Walmarts into super Walmarts and just make them Walmarts. So now all Walmarts are regular Walmarts with supermarket, you know, bakeries, delis. They have everything. They're like everything combined. And you know, so they said that, and then eventually Walmart said, hey, why not just have a standalone supermarket? And Walmart is now competing with Publix and winn-dixie and all these other ones to have Walmart Neighborhood Market, which is just a standalone supermarket. And then there are things in Walmart Neighborhood Market that you can't get out of a regular Walmart. You can't go into Walmart Neighborhood Market and get clothes or get shoes. You'll have to go to actual Walmart. Like when I order from a neighborhood Walmart, because now I get my groceries from a neighborhood Walmart when I get them delivered. You know, if you order on Walmart's website, you can still order anything from Walmart's website, but it's just things that they don't sell inside of a neighborhood market. You'll get it from another Walmart, or you'll get it from the factory, meaning that I may buy some shoes, or I may buy a fan, or I may buy electronics or a charger or something, and you can't find it in the Walmart Neighborhood Market. So okay, you get it from They're gonna still give it to you, but it's gonna be delivered separately. But now back to what I was saying about these Aldis. A lot of I've been in the Aldis, and these Aldis about is the size of a CVS. And I'm like, yeah, your Aldi's and your Aldi supermarkets are about the size of a CVS. Now I'm going to be going to update because the winn-dixie that is by my house will be closing in August. I've seen a lot of winn-dixies that are closing soon, and I've been seeing a lot of social media posts. If you ever go look up about them, there are a lot of people that do history videos, and they talk about the closing of the winn-dixies. 98% of the winn-dixies here in South Florida are being converted into Aldis. Now, I'm not going to say how many of them because I don't know how many winn-dixies that are still thriving. But a lot of there's a winn-dixie in Overtown that's being closed, and I don't know if it's being converted into Aldis, but I know it's being closed. There's a winn-dixie here in the Liberty City area that is closing and is being converted into an Aldis, and there's another winn-dixie that's on the outskirts of Liberty City that's being closed and is supposed to be converted into an Aldis. And then there are several. There is a winn-dixie that I've been told there's one on County Line Road that's closing, and that was the first winn-dixie that I've ever experienced 24 hours with, because remember back in the early 2000s, winn-dixie was trying to be competitive with a lot of grocery stores, and they introduced 24-hour service. Because when I was working at winn-dixie, and this was in the late 1990s, you know, remember I told you I did a video. Go back to my video. The winn-dixie that I worked at turned into a Fresco, and when I was working at that winn-dixie, they was actually, that's when winn-dixie was doing, and this was like 96, 97 when I was working at winn-dixie, and they was actually just introducing 24-hour service, and around like 11 or 12 o'clock at night, like around 10 or 11, close to 12 o'clock, that's when they started, you know, shifting the cashiers and stuff to the overnight crew, and the people at, you know, that was in line, they had to wait till they do a shift change, you know, in the system and all of that and things like that. And that's when winn-dixie was trying to compete with, hey, let's do 24 hours, because remember at that point Walmart was doing 24-hour stores, and Walmart was, you know, the leader, because you can go to Walmart at 3 in the morning and do your grocery shopping, and there was nobody there, because at that time they didn't have self-checkout, and a lot of people wasn't up at 3 in the morning shopping for groceries in Walmart. So you was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to Walmart at 3 in the morning to do my grocery shopping, because it ain't gonna be nobody but 2 or 3 people in line. And then of course COVID hit, and Walmart took out their 24-hour service, and a lot of things have changed since COVID. And I look at it as if, you know, what is it that is going on? We all know winn-dixie was going down here with bankruptcy. There was a lot of lawsuits when I was at winn-dixie. There was a lawsuit discriminating against African Americans, you know, because winn-dixie was allegedly a racist company, even though winn-dixie was the company that had their stores in urban and black neighborhoods versus Publix, you know, because Publix, and I did a video about this, you know, Publix and CVS and certain stores, they don't have stores in the urban areas. And Walmart, and winn-dixie, it's the same thing with Walmart. Walmart doesn't have stores in the urban area as well as Target, you know. But in reality, winn-dixie was capitalizing on the urban market. Hey, let's put our stores in the black areas, people going to shop here, you know. And Publix, hey, we're not going to put our stores in the black area, but the black people are still going to come because our prices is too expensive for the black people. You know, you're probably paying $5 for some ground beef at winn-dixie versus paying $10 for ground beef at Publix, because I've made the comparisons, you know. And I'll go in and buy 5 items from from Publix, and I'll end up paying $30 for those 5 items. I'm like, this is ridiculous. But at the same time, it is what it is. And now that Aldi's coming in, Aldi's is a cheap place. The only thing is, Aldi's is in the same bracket as Save-A-Lot. Because remember when Save-A-Lot was here in South Florida, and certain Save-A-Lots, you had to have a quarter to get one of the buggies. You put the quarter in, and they give you a buggy, and then when you bring the buggy back, you get your quarter back. That's the same thing at Aldi's. You go to Aldi's, you need a buggy, you have to put a quarter in the buggy to get a and to get the buggy. And then when you return the buggy, you get your quarter back. You know, and then they have it to where they don't have bags. They don't have the plastic bags. They have the reusable bags, which I have a few here. And the last time I told my mom, I say we're saving our bags. You know, when we go grocery shopping, I go grocery shopping for you or whatever. Save all these bags whenever we go into Aldi. So the next time we go, we don't have to pay for bags. We should bring our own bags and do it because they don't have shop bags, and they capitalize. They say to keep our prices down, we don't have cart wranglers because you know Walmart has cart wranglers. You know, people that go out there and have to get the carts and stuff like that. We don't have cart wranglers. That's how we keep our prices down, and we don't have shopping bags. You know, so you got two things. You're gonna put everything in your. If you have a cart, you're gonna put everything back into your shopping cart, and you're gonna push your cart to your car. Put everything in your car as is. You know, they're not in bags. So if you do sharp turns or do anything and you got something in their glass or something happen, your soda gonna bust, your glass gonna break, whatever. So you gotta drive with caution because you don't have shopping bags. Or you use the little blue bags that they have. So to me it's like I don't like the fact that they're changing all of the Winn-Dixies down here. Now if you're in the area in another city or state or whatever that has a Winn-Dixie, let me know, are they changing your Winn-Dixie into Aldi's? I know Winn-Dixie is mainly based in the southeast areas, which is, you know, Georgia and Florida and other, you know, southern states. But I don't know if there's Winn-Dixies in California, New York, and all these other places because I know there's a lot of competitive supermarkets. You know, you have Publix, you have Aldi's, you have Save a Lot, you know, you have Piggly Wiggly, you know, you have a lot of these stores, and there are more name brand stores, more chains that we don't know about because in Florida we have Winn-Dixie, Publix, Aldi's, Walmart, Target. We have Sedano's, you know, Fresco. We have down here in South Florida we have Presidente. So we don't have as many as it is, and you know, out there. So you know, if you live in an area with a Winn-Dixie and it's being converted to Aldi's, let me know. Even if it's not being converted into Aldi's, if it's just closing altogether, because there's a lot of places that have been closed. I seen there's a Family Dollar that's not too far from where I stay at. It used to be a supermarket called Great Foods, and they had two locations. They had one in Opelika and they had one in Liberty City. And in Opelika, I used to love going to the one in Opelika. And then the Opelika one, they used to be right across the street from the City Hall. And from City Hall, they moved their location for the south in another location in Opelika, which is now a Price Choice. And they had one in Liberty City, and then they closed the one in Liberty City. Then it got turned into a Family Dollar, and then now the Family Dollar is closed, and they're turning it into an AutoZone. So you know, a lot of things are changing. So you know, it's mess. And I like all these because of their prices, but I don't like the fact that now you got to go into these stores. They don't have a deli department. They don't have a meat department. They don't have a bakery. So if you want to go get a cake, even though they say Publix cakes are better than Winn-Dixie allegedly, you know, but now, what if you want a quick cake for a birthday? You know, I remember my day I was dating a girl back in my early 2000s, in my early adulthood. I was dating a girl and she was having a birthday party. I went and bought a birthday cake for her, and I went and got it from Winn-Dixie because she stayed not too far from Winn-Dixie. I'm not finna go out of my way into another area to go buy a Publix cake. You know, even though I bought a Publix cake from when I had my birthday party at what it was. I think it was. At the time, I think it was Game. I think it was Game Time because I had my birthday party at GameWorks, and I also had my birthday party at Game Time at the Shops at Sunset. So at that time, I think it was Game Time when I had my second birthday party, and I ended up, you know, getting a cake from the Publix that was in the area and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, you know, get a birthday cake, whatever, because you know I share. If none of y'all don't know this, but I do share my birthday with one of my siblings. You know, because me and one of my siblings share the same birthday, just different years. You know, that's my oldest sibling. One of my second oldest siblings, we have the same birthday but different years, you know, and so that. But yeah, but at the same time, you know, I felt like, hey, you're gonna go into all these, you know, yeah, you're gonna get these pre-made desserts, like cheesecake and maybe carrot cake or maybe stuff like that. But you're not going to go into Aldi's and say, hey, I can get a birthday cake. And Aldi's don't even have a customer service desk. You know how you used to go on to Winn-Dixie and you could do a money order from Winn-Dixie, or you can go and play the lottery at Winn-Dixie, or you can go and get a money order from Winn-Dixie, or they have a customer service desk where they have the cigarettes, or you want some cigarettes, or back in the day you used to rent the little carpet cleaning machines that they used to have at Winn-Dixie, and you go in and you rent them out and stuff like that. And some of the locations used to have where you get the propane or you get the refillable water jugs for the water dispenser machine. You can't even do that at Aldi's. The Aldi's I've been to don't have none of that. They don't have a customer service desk. That I know of. The Aldi's I've been to don't have customer service desks. If they do, I must have mistaken. They don't have where you can buy lottery tickets, or you can do Western Union, or you can send them, get a money order and stuff like that. Or they don't have the 10 items or less lane, because at the customer service desk you can also do where you have maybe like 3 or 4 items or less at the customer service there. And I'm like, yeah, a lot of these things, and I'm sitting up here like, when you convert these Winn-Dixies to Aldi's, you have to give the same quality service and same quality service and products as Winn-Dixie. You got to provide a deli department. You got to provide a meat department. You got to provide a bakery. You got to provide, you could get hot meals out of Winn-Dixie. You can't even get a hot meal out of Aldi. At Winn-Dixie, if you go to the deli department, you can get sliced ham, sliced cheese, prosciutto and all this other things. And then you can also say, oh, while I'm getting the ham, let me get them chicken wings with them potato salad and that rice with some macaroni and cheese on the side. You could be getting your sliced ham. You can get your ham and cheese slice while you picking up you a dinner for later on. The ham and cheese gonna be for the kids to eat or something like that, so they can make their sandwiches, and you're gonna have your whole meal. You can't get that at Aldi's. Aldi's don't have a deli department. Their deli department consists of you going in the freezer and picking up a pack of ham and picking up a pack of cheese and stuff, or you getting them pre-made dinners that's sitting on the in the refrigerator, them frozen dinners. No, we want the fresh food. And the fact that y'all doing this, I don't really too much like it. Now, if you're gonna convert these Aldi's and give them the same products as Winn-Dixie, if you're gonna give them deli meat departments and stuff, because you don't have a meat department. Yeah, you could probably go buy ground beef out of there, but you're buying that factory made ground beef. This is not the meat that they process in the back in the meat room, like Publix do. Publix has a seafood department. Winn-Dixie have a seafood department. You go get your crab steamed, cleaned and steamed. Get your shrimp cleaned and steamed. Soon as you leave, you coming home with buttery, garlicky shrimp and nice lobster, crab legs and stuff like that or whatever. Remember when Winn-Dixie used to have them lobster tanks? And I used to love going in Winn-Dixie when I was a little kid and see the lobsters with their claws wrapped up with the little yellow tape that used to be on their claws so they won't, cut nobody or be trying to chop somebody. And you used to see the lobster tank in Winn-Dixie. You don't even get to see that no more. And I'm like, yeah, now you're converting a lot of these supermarkets into low budget supermarkets to where people gonna be they're gonna start going to Walmart and stuff. People go to Winn-Dixie because Winn-Dixie is convenient. The closest Walmart here is the one I showed you. I don't know if I showed you, but remember I did an episode of the USA Flea Market, and the Walmart is across the street. It's basically how you live, and I'll probably do a video about that in the near future, upcoming. But there isn't a Walmart in certain urban areas, and Winn-Dixie capitalizes on the black areas and the black urban areas. Hey, you live in Liberty City, or you live in Overtown, or you live in Opelika or Cal City, which is now Miami Garden. Hey, there's a Winn-Dixie. Let's go to Winn-Dixie. I'm not going to drive 10, 15, 20 minutes to get to a Walmart or to a Publix or any other store. Hey, Winn-Dixie is just 5 minutes away. Let me go over here to Winn-Dixie and get something. But now you're converting 98% of the Winn-Dixies here in South Florida into Aldi's. Now the people are going to go inside these Aldi's and say, what is this? So you mean I can't come in here and get a birthday cake for my kid's birthday party? Or I can't come in here and get my steamed crab legs and shrimp You mean I can't come in here and get my, you know, banana pudding? Because I used to always, especially in college, when I went to college, there was a Publix across the street from the college I went to, Fast Train. We're probably gonna do a video in the near future, and I talked about this in my previous videos. There was a Publix across the street, and I used to always go there on lunch break and used to go get my banana pudding because Publix sells banana pudding. Certain Winn-Dixies on certain times you can catch banana pudding because the Winn-Dixie by my house, they sometimes have banana pudding. I go and get the banana pudding. I be like, ooh, this is fresh made banana pudding. This that banana pudding that ain't because Patty LaBelle sells banana pudding as well, and sometimes I get it. And I'm like, okay, it's nice banana pudding, but it's not that homemade banana pudding that she actually makes. This is that factory made banana pudding. It may be all of her ingredients, but it's not made by her. It's made by a factory. So I'm like, oh yeah, let me go get the Winn-Dixie banana pudding. It'd be nice too. Now you go in there, you might get factory made banana pudding, or the banana pudding that's from, Jello or Doe's, or you may get the Marie Calendar banana pudding, or all them factory made. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? This is just ridiculous. So I want to know what y'all feel about them converting these Winn-Dixie into Aldis. Do you think it's a good thing? Do you think it's a bad thing? Because in reality, it is a bad thing for me, because I've been in several Aldis. You don't have a deli department. You don't have a meat department. You don't have a bakery. You sell stuff in there that you will see inside of Dollar Tree and Family Dollar and Dollar General that you don't normally see in a supermarket. And then you don't have a lot of stuff. There's a whole row for cleaning products inside Winn-Dixie and Publix, where you get dishwashing liquid, cleaning supplies, toothpaste, toothbrush, all of that. You have one section, because it's the same thing with Save-A-Lot, because Save-A-Lot be having that one section where you can get your personal items, and it only be like one brand of toothpaste, or two brands of toothpaste and one brand or two brands of mouthwash, versus going in the supermarket. You have Crest, you have Colgate, you have Parodontax, you have Listerine, you have Scope, you have this toothpaste, this toothbrush. You have a variety of toothpastes, toothbrushes, and mouthwashes. You have cleaning, you have Palmolive, you have Dial, you have a lot of these cleaning, dishwashing, dish detergents. You have Tide, you have, Arm& Hammer, you have a lot of these washing powders and dish detergent, washing detergent. You have a lot. You go inside all these, you have maybe one at the most, or maybe two, and you be like, this is all y'all got, and I don't use this. So and when you go to Aldi's, you have to go to another store to get the other stuff, because they don't capitalize on everything. You may go into Aldi's, they may have Kellogg's, they may have cornflakes, but it ain't Kellogg. Or they may have one type of cereal, but it ain't the cereal you eat. They may have the marshmallow. I'm not a fan of marshmallows, because I don't eat marshmallows. So you may go in there, you may see a marshmallow cereal, and I'm like, I don't like marshmallow cereal. I like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I like Apple Jacks. I like, Raisin Bran. You don't have the Raisin Bran, and stuff like that. So it's a lot of stuff that you're not going to be able to get out of all these, and it's going to divert people to say, you know what, I used to shop here at Winn-Dixie, now you done converted to all these, I'm going to start going in. So I believe a lot of things is going to change. So I want to know what y'all think about this. Do you think that is good that they're changing the Winn-Dixies into Aldi's, or do you think it's a bad thing? Or how do you feel about it? And how do you feel about it? Because to me, I don't like it, and I don't win. And not only with just the Winn-Dixie and the Aldi's, anything in general, like everything, like a lot of the stores are being changed and converted into other stores. It's just not with the Wendy's and Winn-Dixie and the Aldi's. You're having, fast food restaurants changing into other fast food restaurants. A lot of these grocery stores, like how I told you, Fresco's used to be Winn-Dixie, and a lot of Winn-Dixies got changes to Fresco's because it's the Spanish version of Winn-Dixie, and they're supposed to be cheaper. Which I wasn't mad about that, because I do like Fresco's as well, because they're in certain areas that capitalize on the Spanish and Latin market. But Winn-Dixie into all these, I don't like. So let me know how you feel about that. Comment at the bottom of this page. Email me roundtable305@yahoo.com, because in about the next couple of months, you're gonna just be in nothing but Publix and Aldi's. and on a few Frescos. And I don't know what's happening with Fresco. I don't know if they're gonna still be in service, but far there is no more Winn-Dixies. And in the next couple of months, I'm going to be start googling winn-dixies to see where is there any left over. So let me know. Comment at the bottom of this page. Email me bondtemple305@yahoo.com. Please support Winn-Dixies. You know, still support them right now before they close. I know a lot of them. I've seen videos where half of the shelves are empty and they don't have a lot of products, but still support them before they close out and give them the support you can, because it's not about money and it's not about, you know, that. It's about, you know, support them. So as always, stay safe, stay blessed, stay hydrated, and of course I'll see you in the next episode. Take care.